Hi, I'm Michael Locke, Director of the Harwich Conservation Trust, and we're here at the Trust's Brook Woodlands, an amazing and diverse sanctuary with walking trails right off of Lothrop Avenue. You can come to the trailhead kiosk and pick up a trail guide and make your way out onto the trails, see some scenic views overlooking Coys Brook, which is the major tributary to the Herring River. Enjoy paths through pine oak woodlands that wind through old cranberry bogs and Atlantic white cedar wetland and red maple swamp, back up through the woods to this trailhead. And remember, don't forget your Harwich Conservation Trust hat. Let's go on a walk. So back in 1997, the Harwich Conservation Trust had an opportunity to preserve this wooded neck of upland that juts out into the marsh that buffers Coys Brook. And thanks to contributions, small and large, from across the community and foundation support, the Trust was able to preserve this wonderful piece of conservation land. Otherwise, it would have become a 12-lot subdivision, and the on-site septic systems would have contributed contaminants and nitrogen right into the groundwater, which flows to Coys Brook behind me. Coys Brook flows all the way to the Herring River. The Herring River, of course, is the liquid highway for its namesake fish, the herring, which migrate every spring all the way to the Herring River headwater ponds, the herring spawning ponds of Hinckley's Pond, Seymour's Pond, and Long Pond, the Cape's largest pond. So this is a very important spot for preserving water quality as well as wildlife habitat. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. So here we are overlooking a red maple swamp, which has naturally returned to cranberry bog that was probably created back in the late 1800s, maybe early 1900s. And you find these types of habitats revegetating old cranberry bogs that were created in these areas long ago by folks trying to, cultivate these cranberries. These cranberries, of course, stayed in good shape for long periods of time. They were high in vitamin C, so they were helpful on long voyages during the Harwich maritime days. So now, of course, we've got the natural habitat taking its place, and it has been for several decades. This red maple stand was here long before the Trust acquired the property in 1997. And just in the middle of it, you see a tall Atlantic white cedar tree. Now, further into this property, there's a wonderful stand of Atlantic white cedar trees. That's a globally rare habitat. But you can walk through this red maple swamp by traversing one of the old cranberry dikes, which is now covered with red maple roots. And it's a terrific ramble through the woods. Now, on your walk through the Coys Brook Woodlands or some of the Trust's other conservation destinations, you'll find some resting benches. These were put here by AmeriCorps, Cape Cod. Great group of hardworking college graduates who spend about 10.5 months on the Cape, and we've had a long-standing relationship with AmeriCorps at Harwich Conservation Trust. This particular bench, a family decided to donate additional funds and dedicate it to a loved one. There are other opportunities to do that at other Trust properties as well. But also, when you're at these benches, enjoy the view. Sometimes you're lucky enough to find one of these amazing wild orchids, pink lady slipper. Very fragile plant. You'll see them in these sort of sun-dappled woodland landscapes. And right next to this one is starflower, one of those spring ephemeral wildflowers that really wants to leaf out and flower before there's too much leaf cover from the overhanging tree canopy. You've got a great mix of plants as ground cover here, and it's a real treat. So we're headed down into the Atlantic white cedar wetland, and it's a real special place. It's almost prehistoric looking, and it's a spur off of the main trail, so just follow your trail guide. This is also available as a smartphone app, so you can download these trail maps right from our website, harwichconservationtrust.org. And you'll find your way around this beautiful area. Let's go visit a vernal pool. So what we have here is a vernal pool, which is a very sensitive, unusual habitat. It fills with water during the winter and early spring, and that provides an opportunity for amphibians like spotted salamander and wood frog, both of which occur here, to lay their eggs in the water. And what's unique about vernal pools is they are devoid of fish. If there were fish here, those fish would eat the amphibian eggs, and wood frog and salamanders wouldn't be able to survive. But since this is really a temporary water body for much of the time in most vernal pools, the salamander eggs or wood frog eggs hatch out, and the adults eventually make their way back up into the upland. In fact, the spotted salamanders spend most of the year in the surrounding upland, sometimes several hundred feet away from a vernal pool. So vernal pools are really only marginally protected by wetland regulations and state law. It really takes proactive land preservation of vernal pools and around vernal pools to protect the habitat and the unique species that depend on them. This vernal pool happens to be right in the midst of a stand of Atlantic white cedar trees. Back in the 1700s and 1800s, colonists would log these areas and use the white cedar wood because it was highly rot resistant for shingles and fence posts and shipbuilding. So much of the Atlantic white cedar habitat was cleared hundreds of years ago, and there are a few stands that still survive today, or also in this case are revegetating areas that have been protected by groups like Harwich Conservation Trust and the town of Harwich and some other areas. Real unique habitat, again, globally rare. Hope you can find it when you visit Brook Woodlands. Well, we've come full circle at the Brook Woodlands, and if a printed trail guide isn't your thing, again, you can find the trail map for this area and other conservation destinations on our website, harwichconservationtrust.org. Download it right to your smartphone if you want. Now, if going out on your own isn't your thing, check out our website again for our free guided walks, many of which are held right here at Brook Woodlands. And if you do want to pick up a trail guide, don't forget, they're at Town Hall, they're at the Harwich Chamber of Commerce, they're at the Harwich Community Center, and they're in these handy trail guide dispensers made by our very own volunteers right here at the trailhead kiosks. So, thanks very much for joining us at the Brook Woodlands. We'll see you again soon at a conservation area near you. Bye.